Peace and power. I am back. I am here for book club. Sorry we're running a little late. Um, Give me one moment. Trying to see. I am doing this on my phone today, so I am looking for a way to add Brother Bud. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Miss Pitts. How are you this fine Sunday morning?
I am great. I
Why you
overslept
sitting there looking naked?
because I have on a strapless sundress. So funny. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not naked, everyone.
Mm.
So today, we are on chapter 11. I put chapter 12 in the title because I just thought that's where we were. So I'll change that a little later. But Grand Rising, everyone, I'm not naked. I do have on a dress. Um, trying to put it together, okay? So, chapter 11, Petrified Sexual Gnosis. That's what we are today. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the YouTube family. Welcome to all of the new subscribers. So you just want to jump into it, Brother Bert?
Jumping into it. Jumping into petrified sexual gnosis. Well, why are the majority of men and women today stuck at the juvenile level of orgasm? What a conundrum. Often it seems the people who are the least evolved are the ones who seem to be the most arrogant and self righteous. They resist progressive development. They live in a prison of their false beliefs. How do we break them out of this jail? What will assist them? What does the path ahead look like for them? These are the topics this chapter seeks to address. For some people, the road ahead is harder than it needs to be. Their path in life is crooked due to a history of self sabotage. They have picked up some nasty false belief systems along the way. As things go wrong in their life, they cling to these false beliefs even more strongly. At some point, you would think they might stop and reconsider their choices after seeing the negative outcomes that have resulted, but this never enters their mind. Perhaps it is vanity or blind perseverance, but with dogged determination, they press on down the wrong path. At some point, the drama, accidents, hardships, and misfortunes all add up. It becomes a difficult burden. Instead of a critical examination of their direction in life, they heap blame on press and society for not sharing in their false beliefs, which leads to bouts of depression and frustration. They become petrified in their false beliefs. Defending these beliefs seems to become even more important. Of course, this path will only lead to greater disappointment. Usually, when a person encounters a hard patch in life, they turn to religion, racial hate, or gender hate, and some to find solace. It is a matter of finding support to justify wrong thinking and wrong action. Admitting that your decisions were wrong or that the thing you so strongly believe in is indeed false is not an option for the very arrogant. There is great comfort in surrounding yourself with a mob of folks who are equally flawed. Religion is the number one go to destination for people seeking alternative to truth platforms. Religion is pious, official, and associates itself with God. It is easy to ignore the truth when you have a respected book partly supporting your position and clergy confirming how righteous you are every Sunday. Granted, this is all man made and meaningless, but it serves the purpose. There is such a wide variety of religions that it is easy to find one to suit just about any set of false beliefs. Racial hatred is the next most popular destination for people seeking alternative to truth platforms. It does not matter which race you are. nor which race you hate. There is a platform and organization specifically designed for that. They will support your false beliefs with zeal and spirit. This is also all man made and meaningless, but it serves the purpose. Gender hate is another very popular destination for people seeking alternative to truth platforms. Although some believe money arrogance may be next in line, male misogyny is centuries old. Patriarchal cultures judging women to be inferior and the source of social weakness are still very much in vogue. Recently, the feminist movement has provided women with a destination for an alternative to truth platform. Religion, racial hatred, and gender hatred are all branches from the same tree. They are all forms of social sabotage that make it possible for false belief systems to thrive. These are some of the main markers to identify people stuck in petrified social gnosis. We are living in the sexual dark ages. This is due to the fact that such a large percentage of the population wishes to twist and alter and butcher the truth to make it fit what they need the truth to be. They are adamant that what passes for the truth supports their current position, no matter how unproductive that belief might be. As a result, many societies are stuck in a petrified social gnosis. They desperately desire for the opposite sex to provide them with pleasure. At the same time, they are busy undermining society, and their policies work against progressive sexual change. The vast majority of today's men and women are stuck at the juvenile level of orgasm. Most of them are going in circles, showing no signs of escaping the pit. There is always a chance that your partner is one of them. What needs to happen for them to move out of the juvenile level over into the adult level? Oh boy, didn't I read that wrong? What needs to happen for them to move out of the juvenile level over into the adult level? Actually, the process to get there is not that difficult. It involves two easy steps. Release the false beliefs to which they are clinging so desperately. Change their intentions to be more in alignment with the grand trine life system. In truth, the acts above are not easy to do at all. Realistically, this may be one of the hardest things one can do in life. These steps should not be so easy to take. And perhaps in a better society, they would be. Society accommodates false beliefs like a bad habit. They must decide to change. They believe that their way is correct because they picked it. They do not reject the grand trine system because it lacks value, but rather because they want to be the one who decides what system is right. It does not matter how well it works. What matters is that they decided what the model should be and others had to follow. Perhaps you can see why petrified sexual gnosis is so hard to break. These men and women are not seeking to progress, merely seeking to be confirmed, regardless of justification. They are seeking validation without achievement. In the past, I served as a life coach for a few years. This was one of several paths I took to make money. It was also a good learning experience. I ran across several cases where men sought entitlements and possessions over women as a result of sleeping with them and getting them pregnant. Their goal was to find a young, attractive woman and get her pregnant. Usually, these women with strong religious views, men outside their church had limited access to them. Using tricks and lies, they got the women pregnant and convinced her to have the baby due to potential guilt over the abortion. However, as soon as she had the baby, the man abandoned her and went after the next woman. Now, he assumed he had the right to possess her, even though he refused to marry her or care for her. He stalked her, harassed her, and blackmailed her. He felt entitled to have sex with her so long as she was raising his child. He refused to give her support, money, or show concern for his child unless she gave him access to her vagina. The strange thing is that so many women agreed to this arrangement. During the coaching sessions, I provided proof that this man had a similar arrangement with five other attractive women, all of whom had a child by him. He mistreated all of them. After this, she came to her senses and terminated all contact with him. I know men who have 10 or more children this way and make no effort to take care of any of them. Moreover, they feel that the mothers of those children are obligated to provide sexual service to them for at least 18 years. This is what petrified sexual gnosis looks like. I refer to both the dysfunctional males and the equally dysfunctional females in this example. Oftentimes, these men are well off financially, deacons or pastors of a church, and sometimes they may even be married. They will sit there with a serious face and use the Bible and misogyny to justify their behavior. Another example is women who send mixed signals to men. There were many cases of that in my life coaching days as well. Her opening statement was, "I just can't find a good man." Red flag. After a brief, oh damn, after a brief review of her last 10 relationship encounters, we discovered that she had terminated potential relationships with 10 good men over the last 3 years. She was not intimate with most of them, but she has been intimate with a maintenance man for the last 18 months. She was not in a relationship with him, did not like him, but answered his booty calls. She admits that he was an undesirable thug who mistreated her. She was under the impression that coaching would change her dating outcome without requiring that she change her behavior. She was offended when I insisted that she had to stop being rude and standoffish to men she wanted. Her policy was that she did not care about who could have sex with her. Okay, her policy was that she did not care about who could have sex with her the same night they met her. But when she was really interested in a long-term relationship, if she was interested in a long-term relationship, men had to wait a minimum of 90 days. Of course, after waiting a week or two, these potential men broke it off, usually after he discovered that she was sleeping with other men. Signals, signals, signals. This is about petrified sexual gnosis. This is what sexual petrified gnosis looks like. Miss Pitts, can you take over for a moment, please? Excuse
What
myself.
page you up on? What page are you on?
We are at the bottom of 135, beginning with women, the last bottom paragraph.
Okay. Women in general have established what I call a negative pleasure culture. In this culture, sexual pleasure is no longer a natural transaction between male and female. It has instead been corrupted to become a political token used to gain leverage in society between the sexes. Males still dominate the economic and political aspects of society. Women, in response, have seized control of their relationship sector. The natural organic experience of pleasure has been arrested. Conditions are placed on the giving and granting of sexual pleasure. In a way, sexual pleasure has been converted into a bargaining chip. And even though this also means that women will experience less pleasure, apparently this is viewed as a necessary trade-off. In the current social environment, access to sex is heavily restricted and men rank themselves by how much power over men they and women rank themselves by how much sexual power over men they exert through attraction. Women have indoctrinated themselves into the negative pleasure culture. The establishment of the negative pleasure culture coincides with the rise of the feminist movement, namely as a reaction to insecurity. Even though major strides have been made in granting civil rights to females, men still constantly undermining the ability of women to control their bodies and making a living. The existence of so many women in petrified sexual gnosis makes the need to use pleasure to get what they want, all the more necessary. At least that is the perception. Furthermore, there exists a woman's code, an unspoken set of relationship rules that women secretly abide by. Again, this is seen as far for ladies. This is seen as a way for ladies to even up the playing field. This code suggests that women operate in stealth mode. When women communicate with other women, they are asking to be understood. When women communicate with men, there's a level of encryption present. They do not intend for men to understand the full meaning, so there is a level of manipulation and an absence of transparency. Women think this is great, but men not aware of the code are very confused most of the time. With some women, the code has become woven into their character. It is so present that they seem to have forgotten how to be straightforward and transparent even when they want to be. This does not mean that women in petrified sexual gnosis are not authentic people with good intentions. Some are and others are not. What it means is that it is harder for men to tell the difference. Since I am a woman, perhaps I should, since I am not a woman, perhaps I should not pass judgment. But in my opinion, this stealth mode is not a good thing. Our society is already complex and difficult. The stealth mode adds one more layer of complexity to the relationship jungle that men and women are seeking to navigate. For the most part, women spend their lives in a state of full or partial insecurity. Whether they are married, in a relationship, or single, the majority of women spend their life operating under some form of insecurity. Most women in a state of financial insecurity. If a woman works, men control her ability to remain employed. If she lives with a man, she may be worried that if there is a if there's conflict in a relationship, he will take his money away. Women worry about abuse. They worry about how a man will act in his negative emotional state. Men can be intimidating. Some will yell and threaten her if they think they can bend her to their will. Women often start out in their teen years with a heavy fear of pregnancy. Some have kids before they are ready. She is then struck with taking care of her kids until they reach adulthood. She is often insecure about her financial obligation in this regard, but more so about his long-term commitment towards the kids. Women live in a state of partial or full insecurity about a long list of issues. The fear and pain that goes along with this is a major reason why she enters negative pleasure culture. Many women learn to live in emotional stealth mode, unsure how men will react if they live outside of the turtle shell. In my opinion, 6 to 8% of all men in the world have predisposition to sexually abuse women. They are born in this way. It is an epigenetic predisposition. As a group, men have been oppressing and raping and abusing women for thousands of years. And after so many generations, it leaks into the epigenetic markers. Look at the history of such places as China, England, and Turkey, and the scope of the scar may dawn on you. Christianity, Islam, and the Hindu faith all incorporate the oppression of women directly into their religion. That is how the deep that is how deep the abuse was ingrained in these regional cultures of origin. Some progress has been made in the last 200 years, but it is mainly learned behavior. At this point, beneath the surface, men are still very misogyn- misogynistic.
Misogynistic. Mhm.
In the juvenile state of evolution, be still humans tend to be oppressive, biased, self-centered, and egocentric. The small percentage of humans who excuse me, who reach a superior state of evolution lose their negative maturity. Religion blocks maturity while competition over money cements the inferior state. Thus, if you're a woman with sex appeal, you tend to operate in stealth mode. It is a survival technique, a coping mechanism, and it is self-evident that women indoctrinated into negative pleasure culture cannot achieve high-level orgasm because it is locked in petrified sexual gnosis. It is an uncomfortable conversation, but one that men need to have. Now, men do evolve and are continuing to evolve. For the sake of argument, let's say that 20% of adult males are truly at the adult level. This attribute of virtue then came online. Their attributes of virtue then come online. They are not oppressive against the female gender, but what these men do not understand is that women are still in contact with the other 80% of the men who still are in the sexual dark ages. Thus, these women are stuck in stealth mode, mired in a negative pleasure culture, desperately seeking to escape this prison. This is the real landscape that is dominant in today's society, and it is a dual scenario. The majority of men are dragging women down into the lower half of the sex value table. The minority of evolved men are constantly struggle to lift women up into the top half of the sex value table. Many relationships fail because one half of the union is either unwilling or unable to cross the great barrier from the deprived state into the ascending state. If you study if you study social science, you will eventually come to the conclusion that most people are not seeking the truth. That is not something that fits their existing beliefs and does not require the discomfort associated with change. This defies the herd. This defines the low vibration state. This is basically a scarcity mindset. This mindset blocks the transition into high level orgasm. In general, when a man expresses a sexual desire, the modern woman, especially the feminist, responds by doing the exact opposite thing. They react by making the XYZ desire harder to get. This is the same thing rich people do around money. They use the desire for money to manipulate. If a woman finds you appealing, she will trade the thing you want for the thing she wants, but they never have the intent to give freely. It is a programming of scarcity. They are programmed this way from age 9. This is not just true of our relationships. The banks are this way, government is this way, and the corporations are this way. They're not really trying to do anything for you. In fact, your only value to them is if they feel they can sell you something. That is how most women are. Cell phones last just long enough, not a month or more, and then you have to buy a new one. Cars just last long enough for you to pay for them. Thus, this society is stuck in petrified mental gnosis of want, and in the absence of sexual fulfillment, billions of women fake orgasms. This is the logical outcome of false beliefs we have come to accept simply because we are not seeking the truth. This is the logical outcome of the false beliefs we have come to accept simply because we are not seeking the truth. While images of sexual promise are everywhere, and any woman with a decent figure posts a dozen selfies of herself every week, it is a facade that hides the fact that sexual anorexia is the reality of is the reality most men and women are living every single day. If a man is seeking to elevate a woman into a high level orgasm, you must address her issue of insecurity. In this way, you assist her in ridding herself of the scarcity mindset. If you are a woman seeking to elevate a man into high level orgasm, you must embrace a positive pleasure culture and assure him of reasonable access to sexual pleasure. Only then can he rid himself of a scarcity mindset. Operating in stealth mode emotionally only confuses him. Sexually, he is not as astute as you. If he has to constantly think to himself, if he constantly has to, if he has to constantly think to keep up with you, he cannot flow and will not cross the barrier into high level orgasm. Female epigenetic issues regarding orgasm. Throughout this book, we have spoken about the house of the woman and the four archetypes into the feminine energy. They are the moon, the elegant rose, the seated hawk, and the treasure chest. The more a woman activates her four archetype energy, the more elemental feminine energy she can access, the more she can store energy, and the more energy she can release into orgasm. In the discussion of her pain body, we spoke of the many ways exterior forces in society prevent her from activating her feminine energy. Unfortunately, this is only half of the battle. There is a strong internal dynamic that is blocking women from a natural and normal evolution into of her sexual power. In other ways, women create their own barriers to crossing the threshold into the HLO state. This is not a judgment. I am certainly in no position to blame them. However, if a woman desires to reach this goal, there is a path that works and a path that will not work. The woman may reach a point in her life where she is resistant to male sexual energy. She tends to sabotage her sexual life. She does not see value in putting in the effort to improve her orgasmic profile. I'm not here to debate the possible causes of this posture, and I have no interest in seeking to justify or invalidate her posture. Her emotional position here may be completely understandable based on her dating history. What I am stating is that the above posture simply will not work if high level orgasm is your goal. If your goal was to finish first in a car race, you would not slash and flatten your tires just before the race begins. To succeed, she needs to be in a seductive posture. I do not mean just looking good on the surface and pretending to be alluring. Her heart, mind, and energy must be in full attraction mode. Basically, she must discharge her old pain body and embrace a new pleasure body. This can be a challenge. To put it mildly, she may need help. Perhaps we are asking her to fix something that she did not break. Have you ever punished a child for an infraction that the child did not commit? For a solution, it is necessary that we examine the dynamics of the feminist movement. To begin with, the feminist movement supports both the negative pleasure culture and stealth mode behavior. But why did the feminist movement start in the first place? It did not fall from the sky. Women had just cause to complain. The real fault lies with the male gender. It is a most grievous and sinister evil. For the last 2,000 years, men have generally abused, oppressed, and undervalued women. The scope of it is global, and the depth of it cuts to the soul. It adds a level of shame to me as a male to know that in my past lives I may have played some role in this travesty. It is worse than genocide or slavery or any minor holocaust given that it spans such a vast time frame and men committed these monstrous acts with such a callous lack of empathy. These were sisters and mothers of us all. Here is the issue. Women have come to grips with this. Women have reconciled with themselves what this life is and how horrible it can be. Thus, we have the reality of the feminist movement, but men have not really come to terms with the blood on their hands of the lies that were stunted. Men have never owned up to this. The vibration of men is still low, so the issue remains a problem for women until men finally own this and evolve out of it. Until then, women in America, until then, women remain injured. For a metaphor, let's use the slavery of Africans in America. Yes, the institution of slavery is over, so the harm to black citizens should be over, but it's not. Yes, African Americans have reconciled with themselves what this was and how horrible it was. Thus, we have the reality of the civil rights era. But that does not resolve the damage you see. Whites have not really come to terms with the blood on their hands. Whites have never owned up to this. The vibration of white is still low, so the issue remains a problem for blacks until whites finally own this and evolve out of it. Can you see the connection? Of course, some men will say that this all happened in the past generation, so he is not personally responsible. But this is BS. Every man still owns a part of the blame, of this blame. You can make excuses, but they do not prevail. So now women have created a problem for themselves, and some of them are toxic. The feminist ideology is wrong and makes the issue worse, but surely men can see past this to a greater truth. It was men who screwed this up. The fault of this falls at the feet of men. Thus, in the discussion of petrified sexual Gnosis, I will address an issue and say that women need to fix this. And with the next issue, I will say that men need to fix that. However, keep in the back of your mind that women as a gender have a major epigenetic failing and have some responsibility to address this. Ultimately, however, it is men who are wanting, men who have committed a grave sin, and men who by far bear the bulk of the responsibility for this lack. Women predict sexual failure. For the most part, it is a peer group thing. Mothers warn their daughters and prepare them for the inevitable failure. Aunts and cousins begin to arm young girls for sexual mishap and mistreatment at about the age of 8 or 9. Teen girls gather in small groups like wolf packs and prepare to defend themselves against teen boys. They do not welcome the onset of sexual maturity with celebration, but dread it with caution. There is a rampant fear of pregnancy, poverty, rejection, bad choices, inmates, and so on. This negative broadcast by females attracts that very abuse, rejection, and mistreatment that they predicted. Of course, when an incident of mistreatment or molestation occurs, female society exalts it as the chorus shouts, "Oh my God!" The incident is then planted firmly in the pain body. However, this is a false confirmation. If we review the girl's life, this was probably the 900 boys she encountered that year. The other 899 boys she encountered did not mistreat her, meaning that she has a 0.1% incident rate. The main aspect of damage is not the incident itself, but the reaction to it by the girl and the feminist community. She would be able to get over the incident better if it were not planted so deeply in her pain body. She can overcome this obstacle if the males in her vicinity are keener to provide support and security for her. This position may seem insensitive at first, but it should be noted that the boys experience trauma too from police, gangs, bullies, and other means. However, they typically do not plant the incident so deep in their pain body. Thus, a man can move forward with his life while the woman may be crippled by one incident. Humans are designed to repair themselves after injury, and this includes psychological wounding. Again, men can more easily move forward because women have not abused them for 2,000 years. With women, it is not so easy to brush the negative hurt aside. The fear that female society has based on a real past. It is not their imagination. Nevertheless, it is the past and does not reflect the current reality. So now what? Where do we go from here? Women face great danger in the sex traffic arena and the illegal drug use lifestyle. However, outside these areas, women can expect a much lower rate of mistreatment. Everyone, including women, will be subject to some abuse and mistreatment. That's just a fact of life. But her reaction motif prevents healing. This causes most women to be non-orgasmic, fearful, and to harbor a built-in resistance to male sexual energy in general. Even after they are married, this subliminal resistance exists there towards the husband. Thus, most women offer abnormally high resistance to tantra projection. The women who maintain a strict feminist ideology are particularly constricted. Hereafter follows the categories of women who offer the most resistance to healing from tantra projection. Women who have less than two archetypes of the female energy online from the house of the woman. Women who have a low hydration inside the cells. Women who live in the past. That is, they center their sexual experience on one or two incidences of molestation or mistreatment. They typically ignore scores of positive encounters. Women who did not have a good relationship with their father. Women who are feminists and work in the sex trade. Hereafter follow the categories of men who offer the most resistance to healing from cancer projection. It will be men that have less than two archetypes of masculine energy online, men who maintain low hydration inside their cells, men who suffer from a loss of sovereignty from police, gangs, or racial oppression, and men who suffer PTSD either from war, inner city, or relationship trauma such as divorce. Men who are born with a predisposition to abuse females. The house of the man. The warrior. He is protective, rigid, paternal, and aggressive. The act and the art of engagement. The capacity to confront the obstructions in life and then to remove them. The eagle. He's a logical left brain thinking, deductive, intellectual, segregate, and critical, seeing the steps to make a plan happen and having a vision beyond the present worldview. The healer. He is holistic, balanced, sociable, artistic, romantic. The ability to restore a thing to a sound original condition. And then the hunter. He is predatory, disciplined, persevering, and paternal. The ability to be accountable for and responsible for the welfare of others. The house of the woman. The moon. She is nurturing, caring, generous, submissive, and maternal. Nurture what is growing and constructing family. The seated hawk. She is synergistic, imposing, intuitive right brain thinking, and she intuits the plan. The elegant rose. She is joyous, beautiful, sensual, artistic, carefree, and arousing. She's giving and generating pleasure and redesigning reality. The treasure chest. Unifying, prosperous, social, earthy, and matriarchal. She's constructing community, the harvest and the abundance. Social ecosystems are complex and the balance is delicate. Only the superior mind with the wisdom to draw on various natural systems can see the workings of it. Our society is thrown out of balance. They will catch hell trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. In review, we have stated that in addition to the obstructions presented by her pain body, religion, and external society, she offers internal resistance to high-level orgasm. Women in Western society are programmed not to orgasm. Once again, we see the picture of a dual society. 15% to 25% of the adult male population is mature and evolved with some virtues online. The other 75 to 85% are still in the juvenile stage, basically zombies in reptile brain mode. In their dealings with women, they are oppressive, misogynistic, self-centered, and ill-informed. Half of the male society is in petrified psychopathic gnosis. Most of the female society maintains an anti-orgasm position. This is not necessarily true. This is not necessarily true. Hold on. This is not necessarily a voluntary thing. Women's stair-step Women's stair-step therapy. This regimen is for women who wish to break free of petrified sexual gnosis. These steps should enable her to break free of juvenile orgasm patterns and achieve adult level orgasm. The assistance of a coach is helpful. The order of therapy can be changed, but all the steps should be done within the same calendar year. You want to attend the Grand Trine course, the House of the Woman slash Man, the activation of the light body, which is partial, the occult possession of Het Haru, Venus, Oshun, Anyana to force the elegant rose archetype to the surface, and then the activation of the G spot. Assumptions. It is assumed that the woman has been unsuccessful in moving from juvenile level orgasm to adult orgasm and is stuck in petrified sexual gnosis. It is assumed that she has attempted to do the task mentioned in the previous chapter with respect to the intermediate steps to achieve high-level orgasm. Thus, any issues with her womb imprint have been resolved. These are the general assumptions. New game, new rules. The duration of this regimen is not determined. For the entire time you are engaged in the stair-step sequence, you must observe the following practices. Strict adherence is necessary. Cut back on your sugar and sweet intake significantly. Observe a no intake of sugar for 2 days per week. It can be any 2 days, but use the same days every week. Practice men AB breath for 4 minutes every day. Whenever you encounter stress or become emotionally unstable, stop and then do this breathing exercise for 1 moment. Absolutely no masturbation for the duration of the regimen, and smile whenever you engage the opposite sex. What we are doing with the regimen to break petrified sexual gnosis is the classic alignment of body stuff. This is the old shamanic practice from ancient times. First, we start with the class, which changes the belief system and helps to align the quantum field body. Then there is the work to activate the light body. This is a difficult work. However, it will be enough to gently shift the body into alignment. Then comes the deity possession work to align the energy body and then the activation of the G spot to align the cell body. At this point, all four bodies are in temporary alignment, so a change in orgasmic patterns is possible. Take note that only Take note that the only step the client can take on her own is the first one, the course itself. All the other steps require assistance, meaning the self the service of a professional is required. Give me 1 moment. If you want to pick up there, my phone, I gotta find a charger.
Okay. Light body activation. Light body activation is an ambitious undertaking. It is extremely difficult to do, and only a few people are capable of work in this high caliber. Fortunately, once you are in the class, you will be among the people who do this type of work. Finding a professional will be easy. The work consists of 2 to 3 sessions, about 60 to 90 minutes long. In the first session, the professional will attempt to remove any negative parasite entities from the light body chambers. This includes dark deceased attachments. In recent decades, these attachments have become common. The remaining sessions will be devoted to activation. After each light body session, the client will probably be confused. Something major just occurred, but it's very subtle. Of course, you don't feel much in your cell body. 3 sessions are not enough to fully activate a light body. The goal is to awaken the core of it just enough to shift it slightly. It will take a couple of days before you fully comprehend the magnitude of how much has changed. The light body controls the energy body, and the energy body controls the cell body. There's a ripple effect, and the energy body is released. That is the best way to describe it. As a result, the cell body functions much better. Appetites change, health improves, and you may even lose a few pounds. You'll notice that you'll notice that your body just operates better. You can only tell that the light body changed by measuring the impact on the lower bodies. Thus, it stands to reason that for this process to work, something big is going to have to change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. A shaman is required to choreograph the deity possession of a Heteru. They are easy to locate, but make sure you choose a shaman who is trained in the old way. Your objective is to involve the energy of this deity so strongly that you possess this energy. Be sure you take all precautions suggested. For some people, this type of thing is a bit scary the first time around. The occult world frightens most people. There is a level of danger in occult activity if you do not know what you're doing, but religion has programmed the public to have a general fear of something that is a normal part of life. It is the activity of the three higher bodies. Religion does not want people to operate these bodies. If you do, you will not need churches and religions. Plus, the church has banned certain knowledge for so long that it is no longer in the public domain. Most people are completely conditioned and do not even seek the knowledge of it. A rare few know of these subjects but have no operational knowledge of how to actually do it. Thus, the act of possession is scary. They say the devil will possess you and other such nonsense. Then turn around and have an unprotected ritual every Sunday that invites every negative entity within 10 miles to come in. It's so ridiculous, I have to laugh. What is possession? To start with, most types of possession are difficult to achieve the first time. You can possess ancestors, elementals, demonic energies, deities, and more. But deity possession is different. It is not like ancestor possession, where it feels like there are two people inside your head. Deity possession is different. We are always possessed with the nine deity set. That is what forms our person, the self. In deity possession, we simply shut 8 of them down, leaving only one left. That is deity possession. It feels weird, like a part of you is missing because a part of you is. You get to feel what it is like if you only had the elegant rose online. You force the elegant rose to the surface, but it is only temporary. You must work on it to get it to take hold. The shaman will probably arrange for you to attend a possession by them to see how it is done. He or she will then give you the tutorial. After this, you will attempt to follow through with your own experience. You don't need to achieve a full-blown occult possession, only a partial one. There are tricks and shortcuts for doing a partial possession, and as long as you do not overthink it, you should be okay. If you believe you can do it, you will. The shaman activates the talismans and Heka, and some people possess before they realize they are possessed. When they realize they are possessed, they become disoriented and snap themselves out of it. Follow the instructions to help you carry the energy and persist. The activation of the G spot is a 45-minute process that needs to be repeated 3 times. There is a ganglion of nerves in the recess between the bladder and vaginal canal. The activation takes place here. The signal is sent via the gallbladder meridian. You don't know what you don't know. Most people who first come to the Grand Trine courses have never heard of the 4-body model. To them, a light body is something in a comic book. It never fails. In the first session, half of the members look at me with the fluorite stare. Then we demonstrate right there in class. We send energy into their throat chakra. They discover that they can feel it. We turn the sternum in the light body, and they can feel that too. They are shocked, but they know we did something and it is not physical. At that moment, the student is faced with the reality that the world is far different than what he or she previously thought. It is the most fascinating thing to watch people working on bodies they cannot see and did not know they had only a few weeks ago. After they after they do the work on the light body, follow up is as instructed. When you have the when you have the work done, the effect is at first is subtle. The experience is amazing, but your registration of the feeling begins to fade soon after it is over. By the next day, you may wonder to yourself, did that really happen,
Right.
or did I imagine it? Believe in yourself and follow up as they instruct you to. In a previous chapter, we discussed the various supplement schedules for the cell body. Two of them are so important that I feel they must be repeated here. Proper hydration of cells and tissues, controlling hypoglycemic spikes from less sugar. Paramount of all cell body issues is the issue of hydration. We speak mainly of water, but most of the proper consistency of all internal liquids. Essential oils, fats are also critical. With, with respect to sexual performance and mental fitness, what we drink is more important than what we eat. Tantra projection energy flows over the water molecules. The water must be natural water with 7.0 pH and a negative electrical potential of less than 100 or more. I, Ideal water is structured or clustered so that it easily passes through the six-sided Rosetta port of the cell membranes. The water must be free of major toxins like metals, lead, fluoride, farm runoff, and hormone disruptors. You can drink you can drink gallons of infected tap water and still suffer from dehydration as much as that person who drinks only 1 cup per day. The water simply never gets into the brain and cells. Sometimes tap water and low quality bottled water is so toxic that it cannot pass through the kidneys. The, the second cell body issue that supports petrified sexual gnosis is sugar spikes. In other words, excess serum sugar levels in the blood and kidney ports. This is if the this is if the cause is physical. Remember this axiom. Excess sugar means a loss of sexual power. For women, a major factor in the lack of vaginal orgasm is due to an addiction to sugar. If they maintain high level hydration and high levels of minerals, they can mediate the situation. In other words, if your sugar is high, it will be a problem. If your water is optimal, it allows the cells to tolerate the high sugar spikes better. The elegant rose archetype. The elegant rose is the end product of feminine energy. She is the carrier, the treasure chest. Moon and seated hawk achieve their highest and most productive expression when paired with the rose. Thus, when expressed via the rose, their power is expanded. High level orgasm is the best means we currently have to bring the elegant rose online rapidly. Conversely, the elegant rose is the archetype that plays the greatest role in reaching high level orgasm. Women mistake the outer beauty aspect to be the main value of the rose, but this is a false belief. It is form in balance with function. Her beauty has purpose. Her form supports the needed functions. Her pleasure has function. Her music has function. She marshals all her feminine charms behind the functions of the other three archetypes. Thus, the elegant rose is not just erotic, but a holistic montage of energies. Women can look gorgeous and yet not have the rose. The elegant rose does not just look good, but it is also able to generate pleasure, direction, evolution, health, and creativity with her sexuality. It should be stated that there is no guarantee that this process will work. When a person persists in self destructive behavior for long periods of time, it can sometimes take a very long time to reverse it. When a person is obstinate in their pursuit of a false belief, you cannot always undo all of this overnight. Male light body activation. For men seeking release from petrified sexual gnosis, this regimen is for men who are stuck in juvenile level orgasm and seek to break free. 1. Attend the Grand Trine course, the house of the man and woman. 2. Light body activation. 3. Penis release rituals, 4. Semen dissolution process. 5. Activation of the healer archetype. Employ angel signals. Clear the pain body layer. Clear the pain body layer from the teen period. Perform mini-second puberty rite. Assumptions. It is assumed that the man has been successful in moving from adult level orgasm to high level orgasm. We assume that he has at least attempted to do the task mentioned in the previous chapter with respect to the intermediate steps needed to achieve high level orgasm. In particular, he should have achieved some ability at semen retention. He has attempted steps 1 through 3 of the 5 main steps to HLO in the chapter or the transition. He has either taken the Tantra course or has had a tutor give him some basic instruction in Tantra projection. Any negative parasite entities in either his light body or energy body has been removed. He has not successfully completed the spiraling paradigm. He is having significant issues in his current relationship. These are the good assumptions. There are new rules for this regimen. The existence of petrified sexual gnosis requires a strict approach. The length of time for this regimen is not determined. For the entire time span you are engaged in this regimen, you must observe the following practices. Strict adherence is necessary. Cut back on your sugar and sweet intake significantly. Observe a no intake of sugar for 2 days per week. It can be any 2 days, but use the same 2 days every week. Practice men ab breath for 4 minutes every day. Whenever you encounter stress or become emotionally unstable, stop and then do this breathing exercise for 1 minute. Absolutely no masturbation for the duration of the regimen. Smile whenever you engage the opposite sex. The only part of this regimen that the reader can do is the first item. For all of the other items, you will need the assistance of a specialist or professional. This is essentially a coaching tutor project, and your coach will walk you through it step by step. For the most part, this is four-body alignment work. In the days and weeks after undergoing light body work, you begin to realize the magnitude of what has occurred. You begin to understand now that your energy body has been released and can now do things now it could not do before. It is one of those things you have to experience to understand. Penis release rituals. In past lives, some men have taken vows of chastity as monks. These vows must be released. In past lives, men place vows and seals on their souls, which must also be released. Religious pledges that encumber the penis must be released. Men have raped and committed incest in this life. These acts often follow the man in a very dark way. You cannot run from them. Seek forgiveness, confess, and purge it from yourself. The penis is often bonded and trapped in all manner of juju, love potions, root work, and such. Even curses placed on your father may still be affecting you. If it can be uncovered, or if the source can be discovered, it can be released. The specialist will do the best that he can. This is known as
Wow.
chronic healing, womb work, karmic release, lacing, etc. Often, in severe cases, this is what prevents a man from obtaining HLO. However, no, normally, light body work must be done first before the energy body has been can be connected. Excuse me. The final step is to concrete the patio to the heart. Okay. Premium semen distillation. Semen is a special form of distilled sunlight. That is what it is. Water, plants, animals, the earth, the trees, they all contain the essence of sunlight. Expand your mind. The stuff coming from the sun is far more than mere light and heat. It is the thoughts. Expand your mind. The stuff coming from your mind. It is the thoughts emitted from black holes converted into doing. Science believes it is advanced and clever, but 100 years from now, we will look back and know that the enough and okay, we will look back and know that the science of today was juvenile. Okay. The bank of knowledge is primitive, just enough to deceive men into illusion of wisdom. A refinery or distillation plant starts with raw material or ore and extracts the essence. Okay. And extracts the essence. One of the secrets of this ability to do this is vitamin D. Vitamin D, also men, but also is due to Venmo's coming back on. Okay. Most men may see the logic at play here. Vitamin D is connected to sunlight, but there is more than the cell body to consider. There's also the energetic vitamin D or its equal. There is a light body catalyst acting with similar action. If a man can upgrade his distillation of semen to high quality and high vibration, it will tend to propel him toward high level orgasm. For a limited period of time, the man will ramp up the quality of semen produced and ramp down the quantity produced. The semen will be more viscous, denser, and of higher specific gravity. The man has already taken the first step in this regard via the semen retention regimen. In the chapter on the cell body factors, we presented another portion of the recipe. The topics discussing testosterone are particularly relevant. All of that supports the DMT platform and the raw material foundation for high quality semen production. The last portion of the recipe is not physical, nor is it in the chemical process. It is in the energy process. This is not achieved in the testicle or prostate, but in the heart. We mean, of course, in the light heart body. The assistance of the Tantra coach is required. In the final step, the semen is transmuted. The liquid semen remains in the prostate. A quality is added to it from the heart. The previous activation of the light body opens the way for the transmutation. The process is assisted via Qigong and meditation. The coach should determine if the trainer is ready. The Qigong involves the first dantian or the minor solar plexus. It is yin Qigong. The meditations involve the four chambers in front. It is best for the coach to determine which specific exercises are being restricted. Okay. This is the healer archetype. The healer is one of the four archetypes of masculine energy. The healer is a restorer. Since healing is about natural alignment, to heal is to return to one's natural and original state from a state of abnormality. The healer archetype is the last yang of the four male archetypes. He is less aggressive and his touch can be gentle. He would rather build than tear down. In many ways, the healer energy tempers and restrains the other three archetypes. The man is a complex being. A part of him is a deadly warrior, while another part of him is a logical thinker and strategist. A part of him is a hunter or predator and a killer, but at his core, he is divine and the heart of a human. He is also of these things because of his task as a father, brother, defender, husband, artist, creator, and builder of civilizations. Without the healer, the other attributes could not come together. The outside world is a much more hostile place. The cell membrane is tough, because the world outside a cell can become hostile. The nucleus and interior of the cell are more tranquil and steadier. The male energy must deal with such extremes. One minute he is wielding a sword, and the next day he is changing the diaper of an infant. The male energy, the male energy gives him this range. When you find a man stuck in petrified sexual gnosis, you probably have a man who has not brought his healer archetype online fully. The book Awakening the Master Masculine gives the full background of the house of the man and the role of the healer. The best way to bring the healer online is to have a father who has a healer online. Resistance to the development of the healer archetype often begins with exposure to dysfunctional women. In the typical man, a man may have had a major issue Yep, I got lost. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Yep, I got lost for a second there. Let me go back. So, the best way to bring the healer online is to have a father who has a healer online. Resistance to the development of the healer archetype often begins with exposure to dysfunctional women. In the typical case, a man may have had a major issue with his mother from the age of 2 to 7. He generated great internal anger over the way his mother treated men. This may include his father. Often the behavior is buried, subliminal, and dormant until a key woman dies. In the moment-like scenario, his mother only partly raised him. Maybe it was the grandmother or an aunt who did the main mother duties on his behalf. He has rage inside. When this woman, the grandmother or aunt or sister or whomever dies, then all hell breaks loose. His pent-up rage bursts to the surface. In a similar dynamic, the issue may have started during his teen years. Here, the issue revolves around the attractive teen girls in his vicinity, not his mother. It is an issue of perceived betrayal. The girls, in general, found him appealing and sought him out. He was considered select, so he had an expectation of being precious to them. When one or more of these teen girls, who were special in some way, rejects, demeans, or invalidates him in a harmful way, he feels betrayed by the female selection criteria. In the teen years, young girls can be cruel beyond belief. In other words, he was not chosen as a select man, or he was chosen as being select, but his male friends were not. He observes the harsh way in which the attractive girls treat him or his non-select friends. He gradually declines. By the time he becomes an adult, he has regressed into vengeful or crude behavior. He rejects the whole healer thing. He leans more toward the hunter, perhaps. He believes that with money, women will treat him better, and they will. Or perhaps he leans toward the ego. He figures that he can scheme and talk his way to get what he wants, and he can. At the other end of the spectrum is misogyny. He may or may not have finished puberty. The women in his vicinity were not so dysfunctional. Were, the women in his vicinity were not so dysfunctional. It is a vanity and arrogance that motivates him, pure and simple. It is the same inner, it is the same egocentric worldview as feminism. In his warped mind, he must see women as less so that he can be more. No one explained to him that when you remove a slice from the pie, the whole pie becomes less. The healer values women. This is not the path many men desire to take. Many want to conquer a weaker species and demote them to serving him. Of course, in doing so, he must forego a precious aspect of his own development. Thus, he becomes less. He seeks to win the race by shooting himself in the foot. Not a good strategy. However, the media, for the most part, reinforces this thinking because this is how society has always functioned. We live in an oppressive and imperialistic society, and prevailing current is to devalue women. Most men resist healer development in favor of one of the other three. As a result, petrified sexual gnosis is more common than it should be. In my younger days, I discovered to my sorrow that the most gorgeous and seductive females came with the nastiest and embedded hang-ups. Her self-glorification stated, but feminism made it worse. You can lay down the major portion of blame at the feet of the juvenile healers who never fully came online. They were not there. They were not there when she needed them. An elegant rose who is on her job is bound to be broken at times. Most firemen have homes. Most policemen have taken a beating a time or two. It is then that the healer must see beneath her pretty face to the wound lurking there.
Most
He looks
firemen have
even
learned.
deeper then. He looks even deeper into her natal template. Then he can restore her and send her back into the world with a smile. Yeah, my apologies. I fumbled over quite a little bit of that. I hope it didn't wasn't too much of a distractor. But we have just finished chapter 11,
That's okay.
Petrified Sexual Gnosis, uh, which was written to gain some insight into many of the hangups and how they developed with respect to being petrified on a sexual level, um, and how getting beyond that is an essential building block that we need in place before we get to uh, achieving high level orgasms on consistently and on purpose.
Hmm.
Reminder that this is Alchemical Changes, the book club, with the incomparable Miss Nina M. Pitts, uh, who is currently paused. But
I'm here.
I'm Jamal Butts. We've been reading chapter 11 today, but for the last 7 weeks, that's what we've been. We've been on trying to give you the building blocks necessary for working toward getting beyond juvenile and adult level orgasms, um, to achieving high level orgasms, that state of uh, orgasmic bliss, if you will, that can be brought about intentionally and on purpose with the alignment of all four bodies. And again, the release of a lot of things. So we are here.
Can you hear
Uh,
me?
we are here for. Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay, so I am here. My charger is acting up. So, for the brother or that's in the chat, we appreciate your support. He said he caught it in the middle of reading. I
Okay.
am Nina P, and this is Brother Jamal. But we are reading the Holy Grail of Orgasm, and this was chapter 11,
Mhm.
Petrified Sexual Gnosis.
Gnosis. Mhm.
So, what did you think of chapter 11?
Chapter 11 kind of reinforces what I've said to you several times that this book in and of itself um, is part of a curriculum, as it were, at Grand Trine, and
Mm-hmm.
that to get the most out of it, the people are going to have to really pay attention to um, the order of things. And they even mentioned in this particular chapter to be sure to follow along and release things in a certain order. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's funny that the first couple of pages kept mentioning how people are caught up in false beliefs and truths that they've created for themselves that are absent of any reality. Because I was writing earlier in the week, and at least two of the pieces I wrote were about getting past the lies that you tell yourself.
Right.
And so, um, this
Well,
chapter, if I was summarizing it, what I was getting out of it is really just that we need to recognize what our hangups are. Sure, there's some value in knowing why they exist or how they encountered, but to also know that many of them are epigenetic, and you don't know what was instilled in you a lot of times from age 2 to 7, which are some of your more formative years. Takes a bit to reach back and see what kind of trauma we may have suffered and what kind of hangups may have been developed then. What Master Morris is encouraging both men and women is to, yes, go ahead, get in touch with that and seek it, but to immediately alchemize it and just use it as fuel for moving forward um, on your journey to achieving high level orgasms on purpose. What about you? I heard you say you kind of got caught up in some things, but uh, overall, did you find some fruit in the chapter for yourself?
well, of course, for me, he spoke a lot on women and them being petrified because of the state of community and society. And so, of course, this brings high personally, just because I have a community of women around me, and just knowing their experiences, and then
Mhm.
also speaking to women in general and them speaking on their experiences. So he's definitely accurate in his chapter.
Mhm.
I do feel like some level of healing is necessary and needed, and I like that he did speak to just how it's really swept under the rug. So much happens by a certain age, and I think he said by the age of 8 or 9.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of things have taken place in most women's lives, and then of course you just at that point you have to suck it up and keep pushing forward. So I like
Mhm.
that he spoke to that, and then just the characteristics of the house of the man and the house of the woman. And so
Mhm.
so much like the process, but this chapter really focused on how to heal that. Well, you don't want to
Yeah,
be
for those
stuck
of you
there.
that are following along, I mean, I definitely encourage listening to all of the sessions that we've gone through. But this one is going to take a lot to absorb and absolutely crucial to you moving forward on the journey to high level orgasm. Please listen to this session. If you've got the book, reread this particular chapter a couple of times because I imagine that for a lot of people, the some of the writing in here is first going to close you off, and you're going to be offended by some of the things that's being said, particularly when he spoke some truths about the influence um, of religion and how stifling that many of the religions can be with people's sexual awakening. And it can, in and of itself, be a reason for being petrified sexually, as it were. So I'm reread it, re-listen to this session with an open mind. Go past that because it's all truth in here with respect to some of those things, those principles that we've been indoctrinated to or brainwashed with, actually causing a limitation to our growth um, in general, as well as getting to being free enough from a sexual standpoint that we are able to put all the pieces together and all the four cell bodies to achieve a high level orgasm. Um, you got a bit more to go. Just a reminder, you are here with the book club, Our Chemical Changes. Miss Nina M. Pitts is your host. I'm your guest reader for this session of The Holy Grail of Orgasm, teaching by Master Yao in Morris, uh, who is the founder and leader of the Grand Trine in Atlanta, Georgia area. So, as we spoke, Ms. Pitts, or as we were reading earlier about, he gave some case studies about why some women can be petrified and some of the realities. He shared some of his case study for people that he has been mentoring, that he mentored when he was in the coaching field, and how there are actually some men who operate in a manner that is, well, shit, it's excuse me, it's offensive to me. I know it would be offensive to women, where they willfully and intentionally seek out women and impregnate them and guilt them or blackmail them into having the babies and then just disappear. Um, Not an element we speak about a lot, but I found it interesting that he had that case study where he had more than one woman that was attached to a man in that area that had more than 10 children that they were not supporting. Your thoughts?
Well, we've seen it. Well, I've seen it personally growing up. So by a certain age, all of my friends were young moms, and just the level of abandonment. So, not just being a teen mom, but also raising a child as a child
Mm-hmm.
alone. And so I do think that that shapes our relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
watching it happen, I just knew initially that it is not something that I wanted for myself. There was a lot of struggle, lack of community, because we all know in our community when you get pregnant young, you're called fast or just all the
Mm-hmm.
things that come with it. Very People are very opinionated, and there was no sense of coming together, but you really get ostracized being a young mom, and so I witnessed all that growing up, and it was hard to watch. And then me as an adult, I'm just thankful and grateful that that was not my story. It could have been easily, but it was not, and I'm just really grateful for that type of protection. But just seeing how it played out, um, watching my young friends grow up to become women and go through motherhood and all of that struggling, it did, form some type of, I'm not gonna say, not attitude, but opinion, a very firm and stern opinion of men. And then just watching that be passed down to their daughters for the women that did have daughters, and then of course it plays out differently for men. And so that in itself is something that we need to focus on in our communities as far as healing as well. I see other cultures, and when this happens, they tend to form community around young people that are early moms or dads. And I'm not saying that we don't. It's just rare. And so just watching all that, and then just how he pinpointed how you form that petrified sexual Gnosis. Yeah, it plays a part. So by the time these women, and I can say the ones that I know, went into adulthood, there was a energy there, I'll say, towards me, already formed. And then just having those daughters in the household, you passing it down. And I like that he pointed out that when these things happen, it's like not a community effort to heal or to support, but then there's opinion formed and passed down about men. And so just that mindset
Mm-hmm.
is a lot. I think it all needs to be healed. It's a lot. And then us now being conscious of it, making sure that we don't pass that down to our children. Because the nuclear family is necessary. Um this, like he said, this has been went back decades. So if you saying three generation of women that experience this on a high level, then you have absent fathers, and then the men that are being raised in the homes where the fathers are absent. Just seeing how it all played out. And I don't know about when
Mm-hmm.
you grew up, how early people were having babies or whatever, but just I grew up in that realm. Just young moms, young single moms. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we admire the strength. And that's why I say I don't subscribe to being strong, because it was something that was put on place on women. It's like, to me, it's not a compliment, but watching young girls having to be strong because they're raising children and they're still babies themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was, a bit hard to watch. But overall, I just feel like our community needs some type of nuclear makeover at this point, because it has just
Mm-hmm.
seeded division on every level.
Yeah. Shortly after he mentioned some of the misdeeds of men that could lead to a petrified sexual gnosis, he also talked about some of the misdeeds of women that could cause petrified sexual gnosis in men. Um, and it's a book's a few years old, but the conversation is still really relevant today about the confusion and mixed signals that some women are sending out in the quote unquote dating arena, where when they want a good man, they'll withhold sexual intimacy for 90 days from him, but at the same time she's withholding not sex for 90 days from him, she is having sex with other men uh, on the side. But the good man, the one she wants to be her forever man, he's got to wait. But the guys that just providing a good time, uh, they can have it every night. So it's very interesting and tremendously pragmatic mindset, I think, that comes up with this, the convincing that this lie is something that can be positively reinforced and that it's a good thing. And so what Master Morris points out is that you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're ruining men as well. And I'm famous for saying that, whatever is going on with us, we have done to each other. We've lost sight of um, working together toward a positive uh, a positive nuclear family and dynamic or dyadic family, and that there's some things that, from whether it's been from ego, shame, survival instinct, or whatever, we've done some horrible things to each other from one gender to another, that as opposed to simply fighting about, we need to find a way to alchemize those things, so that we can get to, again, creating a more nuclear family. But as this teaching is recommending, acknowledging that, and then getting past it so that you can put the building blocks in place and remove those that are not fruitful, so that we can get to high level orgasms consistently and on purpose. So yeah, so he kind of
Mhm.
spoke truths about both parties or both sexes being responsible. But I think, again, it's not about a bashing. It's about informing and educating so that we can get past it, and get to our core goal, high level orgasms. Right?
Right. So we have a guest in the comment section, Tim, and he said that I think it's a needed conversation within our community. He also said that the ancestors planned to have kids or children intentionally, and it's not the same at this time. His mom was a single mother at a young age, and he doesn't think that it was intentional. And so, yeah, it was a lot of that, and I don't know if it was intentional or not because at a young age, I personally had an urge to be a mom, but you don't intentionally plan on raising the child alone, even as an older divorcee. You don't intentionally plan to do it alone, and I feel like that affects our community, um, and to the detriment of it because it's like you go into it with a natural urge, and I don't because everybody go back and listen to masculine, awakening the master feminine and awakening the master masculine, because he talks about how we do intentionally implant in our daughters and prepare them to be moms, but then from a young age, men are not intentionally taught to be caregivers. And so how it plays out is just we're prepped as women with dolls and all of the things, and then you go into a household, learning to take care of the household or whatever. But in that, even if you intentionally want to be a mom at a young age, you're not thinking alone, and then the struggle of having to take care of yourself. Like I said, I had a bunch of friends who were teen moms, them taking care of themselves and working and being moms that early on. They didn't even know who they were. So to be thrust into that and then to have to live that out for the next 18, 20 some years, because children really don't grow up at 18. And
Mm-hmm.
just the level of neglect and then not having time to get to know themselves. And so how that played out, a bit toxic watching. No judgment, but just watching it play out, very toxic to see. And
Mm-hmm.
then if the father was absent, the mom constantly programming in the children the effect of the father being absent. And so there's just a lot watching, like I say, growing up. And then me and my own experience now, I try to practice instead of because it's a lot. Instead of going into the woe is me and talking to my son about the result of our reality, I still try to use positive reinforcement, and just making sure that we're present, even if I have to go the extra mile to make sure everybody's present, because
Mm-hmm.
we still need each other. Our children need both parents, whether it's a friendly situation or not. They still need both
Mm-hmm.
parents. We don't want this cycle to repeat. because it has already repeated over and over again. We're just looking at a bunch of brokenness in our community. And we know now that with all that brokenness, you can't ever reach the HLO, the high level orgasm. So this book has taken us through a healing journey, not just about the orgasm alone, but just about how it comes
Mhm,
about
mhm,
within our community, the areas of lack, and then the characteristics of the man and the woman. And if you're lacking certain houses, how
mhm,
that affects your orgasm or your sex life. So
mhm,
we want to make sure. And Brother Sam, yes, you can ask a question. Go right ahead. We'll put it on the stage.
mhm,
Just how that plays out in the long term. And I do look out into society and think to myself that we are lacking touch. A lot of people crave touch. Something as simple as a hug is hard to get
mhm,
now because we're so divided. Like you see on all the podcasts, men versus women, and women did
mhm,
this, and men did this, and the welfare state, and the men had to, just all the things. And it's like, how do we fix it? Because we know what
mhm.
happened. How do we fix it? And so,
Right, right. Once you realize those hangups exist and those toxic behaviors have developed, that's just part one. That's just part one. That's great, but that's just part one. We've got to come up with a game plan to to evolve beyond it, to alchemize them. You're never not going to have that memory. Let's get that straight. Just want to tell people this all the time in therapy sessions that I can't help you not remember what was traumatic for you. That's not it. But how can we alchemize whatever that did and in a way that helps you get beyond it, to evolve beyond it, to continue to grow, and to not be fearful of having a social ecosystem that is healthy for you. And so, Master Morris again, he reiterated some things that you and I have had conversation about, Ms. Pitts, and I've taught on other platforms, and that is that, um, as we journey on in life, it's ups and it's downs, it's ups and it's downs, and it's just like that heart monitor in the hospital. Um, if once that line goes flat, you're dead. But while you got ups and downs, there is life. And, stop beating each other up, stop beating yourselves up when you see these shortcomings, and just find a way um, to move beyond it. I'm looking at the question on the screen here, and I'm from at Tim 4438. He says, I am practicing SR, which I presume is sexual retention. And I would like to know, as a man, if holding your life force is beneficial for us. Is it really logical for us to release during recreational sex or procreational sex? Well, if you're doing it for
same in my
procreational sex, you absolutely have to release. Um, during recreational sex, again, in the context of the appropriate relationship, if you feel it's safe for you to do that, when you feel it's safe for you to do that, it is absolutely necessary, um, to periodically have that release on multiple levels. And I can speak to you about it on a physical level, on an energetic level, as well as on an emotional level. It's going to feed, mm, all four of the bodies that we want to feed and we want to evolve, to do that periodically. If I hope that as you're practicing sexual retention, that you've got some information that has espoused that yes, there's definitely, um,
same
a
same
length
in
of time that you
same
want to
in
do it with intention, but there's also wants to be a very intentional release of that semen sometime in the future. So I hope that answers your question. If not, rephrase it.
Um, I'm gonna touch on it. So the SR is semen retention. Um, we are put here to procreate. I know it's against popular belief, and then we have all of these new age gurus out here teaching all of the things, and I think that all of the things are furthering separation, not necessarily for healing. But we just sticking to the facts. We are put here to procreate. And when you don't procreate, then your lifeline, um, not just your lifeline, but your bloodline ceases to exist. So we're gonna deal with that first. Also, studies show that men that release more often, are renewed in a way. So I don't know where the semen retention came from, but we see the studies showing that it lessens the occurrence of prostate cancer and all the other things. And so um, if you're doing it because of the chakra system and you are trying to recycle the actions that come from building up the fluid and then it dropping back down, and of course your third eye or whatever you call it, you might call it something different, then that's one thing. But outside of that, there is no studies to date that has been presented and proved that semen retention works. It's just a practice. It's just like any other thing that we come up with and decide that that's for everybody in society. It's just like the
Mhm.
vegans. I talk all the time about people going vegan, and then you looking at them. In my mind, they would be smaller because they're only engaging in eating the vegetables, but they're not. And so, if it works, we would see the result of it working in society. Most vegans that I see, they are overweight just like everybody else. And so to push that, it is just insanity to me. Um, I would push further eating for your blood type over everybody just needing to stop eating meat. It's insane. It's nothing that is out there that proves that that works. So overall, looking at the science of it, something that you can prove over and over again. If you're not releasing, eventually the prostate calcifies, and when something calcifies, we know that the cells are deteriorating, and so then you have a case of prostate cancer being high, and especially in melanated men. And I think this is a result too of the separation of the two. Just all the separation over the years and that lack of touch. We're not put here to be alone long term. It sounds great. You have the women out here becoming millionaires and they're looking happy and glowing and traveling. That's great. But at the end of the day, you still run back into yourself. And so you doing all that, and then at night, when you just want to be touched or held, there's an absence of another person. And whether whatever you prefer, men or women, there's just an absence there. And the studies do show that here in America we are suffering for lack of touch and companionship. And so all of these things being pushed on society, we're just not put here for that. It sounds great, I tell you. Um, I would love to be content with it just being me. But just from a young age, naturally, I knew that I would be a mother and a wife. And I knew that I wanted companionship and partnership, that I function better. And then in becoming newly divorced, a lot of women be like, "Oh, you got this, you're strong," and just all the things. It's like, yes, I'm not saying I don't have this. It's just not what I prefer, right? And so, as a team, as a function in society, things are just better. You even enjoy your wealth better when you keep the people around you that have poured into the building of that wealth. And that's why I push community. I'm never out here saying, I see a lot of women online, they're like, single and, I'm happy and single. It sounds great. But at the end of the day, a hard day, I want to be melted into the arms of my person. Um, to do it alone, I just don't feel like anybody was built for that. And not to say it can't be done, but we're talking about the conclusion of society within itself. And so we're looking at how it plays out over and over again. We can say a
Mhm.
lot of things, but how it's playing out is not nothing that I would wish on my generation to come. And so I just hope on some level that people are watching and sharing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. um, and that you are taking these things and passing these books and all this knowledge down to the youth, to the children,
Mhm.
so that we can build back up our communities, and then that we can exist
Mhm.
in ourselves interdependent. Not independently, but interdependently to heal on every level. And our boys need to see it too. Like, no, I don't think boys growing up not seeing their moms loved properly is a healthy thing. I don't think that plays out well. And so, with all that being said, we hope we answered your question. Does semen retention work? We don't know. I just know we're put here to procreate and
Okay, well, hold on. This is one of those times we're going to disagree respectfully, and that
respectfully.
is to say, okay, the whole purpose of semen retention, again, as I said earlier, is for a purpose. It is for it. Should it be a lifestyle that you never ejaculate? If you read anything
Mm,
about semen retention protocols, that is not what it's about. You're not
mm,
to completely withhold the opportunity to procreate. That's not what it's about. It is about a preservation of life force. It is about discipline, and it is about spiritual growth. Man-made studies and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to argue with you that they don't exist about the spiritual and physical benefits of semen retention. I will reiterate that Master Morris has a whole chapter devoted to the necessity of semen retention in order to get to a place where you can properly practice achieving high level orgasms in on purpose and with frequency. I think one of the first things he says was, if you're masturbating, cut that by 50%, because that
mhm,
preservation of the life force and lack of stimulation will allow you to be able to get to a recognition of learning that the fact that there's a difference between ejaculating and an orgasm, and that you can have an orgasm in your prostate without having ejaculation from your shaft. And so
mhm,
these are some of the foundational things that people need to remember when we talk
mhm,
about semen retention. But when we're talking about the semen retention protocol history, you can go to Hindu, you can go to Taoism, you can go to the Buddhist communities. There's all for thousands of years, espousing the benefits from a disciplinary as well as from a sexual growth perspective of practicing semen retention, again, for a time with purpose and intention. Okay.
but don't these groups that you're speaking of, they don't have children. The monks, the priests, all these people who do it, they don't have children.
Hold on. No. Hindus do have children. Buddhists do have children. People
Mm.
that practice the Tao faith for years, thousands of years, they do have children. They do have.
Well,
I'm
I'm
not
not
going to talk
doing
about. I'm not talking about just the monks, because they're not the only ones that are Buddhists.
I'm responding to Mr. Tim in the comments because he said,
I'm sorry.
well, that's what I'm asking because monks do semen retention and they don't interact with feminine energy. He said he personally likes woman and the
Mhm.
feminine energy, but he doesn't like feeling drained. And then when you were speaking, he said, right, that's the practice he's been remembering. He had recreational sex with woman before without ejaculating and made her orgasm, but he did not release unconsciously. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, we spoke about that in an earlier chapter. Just the ability
Right.
to have,
Right after that semen retention chapter, because that's a
right.
building block of what we're talking about, getting to high level orgasms. Because one of the things we're gonna remember, and you should be right here with me, Miss Pitts, this 4 hour session every time. If you are just releasing, if you are just ejaculating every time you feel like ejaculating, you will probably struggle to help a woman get to achieving a high level orgasm. And again, reiterating some of the foundational stuff that we studied in earlier
Mm,
chapters. The whole purpose for me uh, doing this work and finding out how high level orgasms work is so that the female partner, I can serve the female partner that I have.
mm-hmm.
That's why I'm practicing semen retention, so that I can stroke in the manner that is absolutely necessary without worrying about the fact that I'm going to ejaculate any minute because it's feeling so good. No, I can imprint and map her vagina at will because I already have myself under subjection. I have the discipline and under control because I've been practicing semen retention. And just like this young man just said, he was able to give this woman unconsciously, he was able to give this woman an orgasm, whether it was juvenile, adult, or high level orgasm, we don't know, but he himself did not ejaculate. Now, and again, I just want to reiterate, what Master Morris has been saying is that you can have orgasms without ejaculation, and you can. And yeah, again, he's doing it. He's doing it to be able to do it for the woman. Brother, continue the work, but again, follow as your protocol. There is a need to periodically go ahead and release. Um, the study that Ms. Pitts was referencing about the release and the health benefit of release was a relatively new study. Um, Actually, it's been 3 relatively new studies that say that a man ejaculating um, an average of 20 times a month increases can increase their lifespan and conversely reduce their risk of cardiac uh, deterioration by 60%. So you can reduce your chance of having an heart attack by 60% if you ejaculate 60 times. On average, I'm sorry, ejaculate an average of 20 times per month. And so, again, those are relatively new studies. And in all honesty, again, they've come across my desk. I've not read all of the factors of them. I strongly suggest that anybody that's concerned about that they actually read the actual studies. One's a Mayo Clinic, one's out of Oxford, and I can't remember where the third one was from, but I'm sure they're out there on the internet for people. Great question. Thank you very much, Tim, for sharing that and willing to be vulnerable about those things. That we certainly appreciate it. Hope you join us in the future. And I know
Right.
you said you came in on the middle of this particular session. Very technical and stuff we were talking about. This is one of those sections that this chapter has been more about the psychology um, hangups that men and women can have that inhibit us getting to HLO, and the need for us to get past those psychological issues as we work toward strengthening the light body, which is absolutely paramount. It's the foundational body to getting to everything else. So Ms. Pitts is back with us. I'm gonna shut my mouth as we are at the past the 11 o'clock hour. You have been
Oh,
with Alchemical Changes, the book club, where we are reading Master Yao in Morris's The Holy Grail of Orgasm, an educational piece that will help you achieve high-level orgasms if you're interested in seeking those, um, and discipline yourself for life. Ms.
and
Pitts, I'll leave it to you.
this book has not just been about orgasm. We have ventured into all areas of
Mhm.
community, society, societal norms. Mr. Tim says he thinks that sex is for the pleasure for females because they can orgasm many different ways. And he also said, "Thank you both, much love." He will be here. We thank you and welcome you for joining and participating. It's nice to have somebody in the chat that's actually participating in the conversation that me and Mr. Book are having weekly. Don't forget to go back and watch the previous books that we have read by Master Morris. I love his approach because he pinpoints the cause and effect in his books, and he also gives us steps to take to actually heal the issue, not just to talk
Mhm.
about it. And so,
Mhm.
I specifically say do what works for you, whether that be semen retention or releasing on a constant, healthy, of course, basis. Just remember, those body parts are there for a reason. And I have not left the U.S.
Mhm.
as far as studying the monks or anybody else in that little world. I just know for me, I feel better when I am in a healthy sexual relationship. And so I
Mhm.
I'm just not for a whole bunch of the things that don't work that has led to us separating.
All right, forever healthier. We're getting healthier, 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 physically,
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. Um, and so yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. This book, it gives you the preconceived notion that it's about orgasms only, but thankfully, if you've been with us or if you decide to go back and reread or listen to some of the other episodes, you will see that in order to build up all four of your bodies, in order to
Mhm.
get to that high level orgasm, we do need to talk about it on a social level. He said
Mhm.
over and over, you need to be healthy. I think this chapter spoke about hydration down into the cellular level,
Yeah.
not just and at the same time, we talked about the imprinting and
Mhm.
implanted hangups that lead to petrified sexual gnosis. So yeah, it's a plethora of subjects uh, being educated.
And just like I said, do what fits your lifestyle. Don't dive so deep into what other people's beliefs are. Brother Jamal would know more about semen retention than I would because I don't even produce semen. So that's why I like reading these books sometimes with the masculine because we get
Mm-hmm.
both point of views. For me, it I don't know even how that would work living in a household with your person. Like, okay, one party is practicing just pushing it all back down, but
Mm-hmm.
naturally, if you're a pleaser, you be into pleasing your partner, and so sometimes you will not release or work on both ends. But just in
Mm-hmm.
general, do what's healthy
As
for
long
you.
as you got a person that's, as long as I'm from experience, as long as you don't have a person that has a hang up about
Hmm.
not seeing evidence of you having an orgasm, with respect to the semen coming out of the tip of a shaft of a penis, as long as you've got a person that's mature enough to not be caught up on that, both of you can live healthy, happy lives while you are practicing semen retention. Because again, it is not supposed to be every day, forever, for the rest of your life. It's supposed to be for a time and a person that you set yourself aside in order for the greater benefit of the collective.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it usually, well, what I've read is just it's usually for the enlightenment of, what do they call it? The seat of God. That's what I refer to it as, where in your brain, the hypothalamus and all that, it
Mm-hmm,
functioning at a higher level, and so that's what they call like the God in you. Even when we
mm-hmm,
were talking about the vaccine, it was known to affect that area in your
mm-hmm,
brain to where it's no longer functioning, it's calcified. And so
mm-hmm.
that's my understanding of semen retention, just to bring that back alive. But just overall, we are trying to get to high level orgasm. So you have to
That part right
heal.
there. That part right there.
Yeah, so we're on our path to high level orgasm. And so to heal, we have to look at just more than just the orgasm itself, but the cause and effect. And then, Brother Tim, we're gonna read your last comment. We're gonna get up out of here. He said, "I think that's it. I think that the woman needs different perspective of what our sexual release for man is, and that is
Mm-hmm,
true. That's
mm-hmm,
why we have to stick together. We can't be separate. We can't understand each other by
mm-hmm.
staying separate. You know,
And not
allowing
communicating. And not
right,
communicate. That's because a lot of people think that because they're physically together, everything is hunky dory. It is
right.
not. If you're not openly communicating and revealing a vulnerability and asking questions of your partner and revealing things to your partner about likes, dislikes, hangups,
Hmm.
traumas, um,
Well, what he says in the
desires. Yeah.
what he, what he says in the first couple of books is that in a relationship you should have a monthly kumbaya so that you
Mm-hmm,
and your partner can discuss progress,
mm-hmm,
the things
sure.
that are
Mm-hmm,
working and the things that are not working. And
mm-hmm.
so just staying in touch with your partner. But y'all, we gotta go. We're gonna get up out of here. It is now 11:13. My apologies for us starting late today. I was I was fully asleep. And so I had to roll out of bed. I got injured trying to get here with you all, but I made it. I made it.
Oh.
Um,
Hmm.
don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. Go back and replay as many times as you need, just so
Mm-hmm.
that it can soak in. Sometimes I go back and replay these while I'm working around the house. We want to start healing our community, and so just staying in touch with each other. Also, I will link the other two books by Master Morris in the comment section. Don't forget to go to Facebook and support Brother Jamal Butt. He
Mm-hmm.
is just that over there, Jamal M. Butt. He is a chef, and eventually we'll get around to interviewing Brother Jamal. But go over and look at his food pics. He has a lot of tantalizing photos of the things that he prepares, and
Mm-hmm.
also go reach out, ask questions. Let's connect. Let's build community. And Brother Tim, we appreciate you. Like I said, fully participating today, and bye so much love. Till next time. Now we rise. Right. It's only up from here. And I am Nina Pitts, and I'm gonna get out of here. Brother Jamal, you got anything else you want to say for the people?
Just a reminder for anybody that's interested. Now that we mentioned semen retention, that was chapter 7. So if you can go back to any of the sessions that we had, chapter 7. If you want to read the protocol that we read through for Master Yao in Morris, where he teaches his perspective of it and the importance of it for this particular concept, chapter 7 talks about semen retention. I'm Jamal M. Butts for Alchemical Changes, where we've been reading the Holy Grail of Orgasm. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Namaste.
Peace and power, and we're out of here.